Hello everybody, my fellow Americans. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. Yeah, I'm wearing the old Obama shirt again. But this is an open message to Rush Limbaugh. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to the radio, Rush Limbaugh was on, and he was talking about his Rush Revere book series. About how, he's telling the story, the history of America. Because I guess some people now are saying things about America that Rush, he says that they're not saying how America is great and all these other things. And as I was listening, I was thinking, Rush, you're not really telling the whole story. You're only telling it from a single perspective. And then you listen to Rush talk about Ferguson, Missouri, and all. And you hear him talk about Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. And Rush, your history of America just doesn't get it. You see, part of the problem is history is written from a certain viewpoint, a certain vantage point. And you want to tell the story about how great America is, and the founding fathers and the principles. But what you fail to see is that there should have been an asterisk at the end of liberty and justice for all, asterisk. And then you look down at the asterisk, it says some exceptions reply. Because see, in the reality, it was liberty and justice for certain white men. Now, if you've been watching my videos, and I've made, what, almost 2,000, you know that I'm not one of those people who blame everything on slavery or blame it on my race or anything. No, not that way at all. It's not the way I was raised. It's not the way I believe. But you see, there's certain truths. You see, my grandfather fought in World War I. My father fought in World War II. And when they came home to America, the country that they put their life on the line for, they weren't treated so well. Sit in the back of the bus. You're not allowed in here. Whereas, they're German, the people who they were fought, the prisoners, they could go into those diners and get served. Something was wrong with the picture. But you see, Rush's books, from what I can tell by the way he talks about them, doesn't talk about that aspect of America. Doesn't talk about that they herded up the Indians and stuck them on reservations. Doesn't talk about how certain groups weren't included in this great Declaration of Independence. And you see, I read an article online that kind of solidified my thoughts on this, where it said, America doesn't have a race problem, America is the problem. You see, if we want to say we're great, we're the best country on the planet, that's bogus. Because we have the same ills and evils as just about every other planet. We can't even trust the democratic process to get the voting right. Did Bush really win that election? I don't know. They're saying that we don't want to have voter ID. We'd rather have voter fraud. I mean, the system has just been gamed and gamed and gamed. I mean, the only person arrested because of, was it Eric, who got choked to death by the cop, was the guy who made the video. The only person arrested. I mean, this is a country that wants to say we're the best. No, we're the problem. I mean, when we can have the financial heads create bogus instruments that just about wrecked the world economy, and it did wreck it for a lot of individuals. Their pensions gone, their houses gone, their jobs gone, their businesses gone. But they don't serve jail time. No, they get bailed out, they get bonuses, and they get appointed to fix the mess that they created. Lunacy. But Rush wants us to believe in America the Beautiful. And the thing is, what I realized this morning when I was thinking about making this video some more, is that the story that history tells, it's more like a eulogy, where somebody's laying in the casket and you talk about all the good things they did in their life. And you forget all the evil, all the bad things. You don't tell the whole story. There's a movie, Final Cut. Robin Williams starred in it, where they put implants in the baby's brain when they're first born. At least some families that can afford it do. And that way everything they see, hear, experience is recorded. And then usually upon reaching the age of 21, they might talk to their son and daughter and let them know that they had this Zoe implant, this chip in their head. And then when they die, this chip is removed and they take it to somebody called a cutter, who then goes through their life, their recorded life, and edits it into maybe a 5 or 15 minute video of their life. And they leave out the bad spots. And you see, the cutter, you have to have a very high ethical code, because you get to see the good, the bad, the ugly. You're privy to a lot of information. It's not a pretty picture. And you see, that's the history of America. It's not a pretty picture. I mean, there's so many different groups that have been oppressed in this land of the free that it's laughable. How can you call it land of the free when you've got Indians on reservations? You've got segregated neighborhoods. Doesn't matter what the law says. Segregated schools. The problem is that most people, once again, are too busy just trying to make ends meet. And there was another article about the 40-hour work week and how that is designed to keep you living a certain lifestyle, to perpetuate the system. Because after you work your 40, you're too tired to be involved in things like politics. You just want to be entertained. Maybe get some cheap food. Get some booze. Numb the pain. Smoke a cigarette or a joint or something. You're not going to go out and fight the man. No. See, that's what the whole, I guess, hippie movement back in the 60s and 70s was about. You know, they wanted to question authority and fight the man. But that kind of came and went. It didn't really work out too well. Corporate America just got bigger and bigger. And you see, the thing about America is, it was really written for certain white males. Not all white males. Because if you were Irish, you were excluded. I mean, if you were Jewish, you were excluded. But you see, it's kind of funny because I was watching the Northern Exposure reruns, and Dr. Fleischman was Jewish, and the Indians up there thought he was white. He goes, "I'm not white, I'm Jewish." Which I'm wondering is, I thought Jewish was a religion. I didn't know it was a race. I'm not too sure how they describe that, because on those forms I never see Jewish as a race. Interesting. And of course we know how they treated the Asians on the railroads, and the Mexicans, the migrant workers. I mean, there was even something on, I believe it was one of those shows, What Would You Do, or something like that, where they had some, they were at this diner, and a couple of migrant workers came in, and their English wasn't too good, and the guy behind the counter, you know, was a setup, was just abusing these people, telling them, you know, speak English, get out of here, go back to where you belong, things like that. And just get the reactions of the other people. Or, you know, how did they treat the gays in this country? Kept them in the closet for so long. I just watched that movie Trumbo. You know, if anybody was a socialist or communist back in the McCarthy era, well, you know what happened then. There was internment camps for Americans. And we know what we did to the Japanese. So you see, Rush, you need to tell the whole story. I mean, sure, we're still a land of opportunity. I mean, look at Gates and Jobs and Zuckerberg. But wait a minute, those are all white guys too. It's kind of interesting how that just seems to keep popping up here. I mean, hey, I'm fortunate. Like I said, I'm not angry. Not the typical angry black man, you know, angry at what? No, no. You see, it's just that through education and through some critical thinking and analysis, I just realized that it's just all one big facade. It just truly is. And this guy, Obama, he's part of the problem. He's not part of the solution. Hope and change. Obamacare. NSA. I mean, so I'm just wondering how Rush can explain that. How he can say that we're so great. True. For some people, could land on these shores and rise up. Sure, it might be better than some of the other third world countries. But you know, it's still a pretty cold and cruel place if you don't have ID, if you don't have a place to call home. In fact, there's even laws now in some cities, it's against the law to feed the homeless. Against the law to feed the homeless. Against the law to feed your fellow American. Rush, is that a great country? I know I've probably circled around some things in this video, but it's just so much. But the thing is, that's the problem. The solution, it's up to you. You see, it gets down to courage. Do you have the courage to stand up and speak out when you see an injustice, no matter what the consequences that may befall you? Because, see, a lot of people won't do that. Hey, man, you know, I got to pay my rent. You know, I got a family I got to feed and take care of them. You know, if I speak out and get fired, you know, so, you know, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and, you know, look away and, you know, not stir the pot, ruffle the feathers, rock the boat. I can't afford to be a whistleblower, because you know what happens to whistleblowers. Rather than being held up as true patriots, they're held up as traitors. Isn't that right, Eric Snowden? Rush, how do you say we're a great country when America really is the problem? And you see, the problem, America, is you. It's me. And unless we stand up and speak out and have the courage to do so, we're not the home of the brave. And we're not the land of the free. We have to make it and take it, whether by ballot or by bullet. We have to just say, you know what, I'm mad as hell, I ain't taking this anymore. But then again, you know the government's response. They're going to bring in the stormtroopers. They're going to enact more laws. They're going to try and confiscate your guns. That's what the whole Second Amendment was about. It was in case the government got too big for its britches, that we, the people, could overthrow a government that is devolved into tyranny. So you see, my fellow Americans, it's time to wake up and smell the tyranny.